We'll do 2 claps.
2?
2, just
Okay.
to be safe. So we'll do
All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. And then another one we'll do 3, 2, 1.
That just called the dog to me. Away.
Yeah, that's that. Like, it sounded desynced on my end, but hopefully,
Hopefully, we're hoping it works. Yeah.
It sounded pretty alright. Like, I think me and Jake's was at the same time, and then Daisy's was maybe just a second afterwards.
yeah. What's wrong
Yeah,
with
I
your
had
clap,
someone
Daisy?
else's. I heard someone else's clap after mine. So
We're operating under the assumption that we're gonna be fine
yeah, yeah.
because this
We're
is the
gonna be
Triple Friends podcast.
Thank
We're
you.
jumping right into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Triple Friends podcast. It's been a while because we lost an entire episode due to my ineptitude. I'm sorry. So
That's not true. It was a failing on all of our parts.
We're triple
Which
friends.
is a shame.
We
because
triple fail.
it was truly
Triple
like
failed.
the Atlantis of podcast episodes. The lost city of Atlantis of podcast episodes. It was very good.
We truly did
think.
lose literally our best episode we'd recorded up until this point. And so we're going to try to recapture some of that magic. I, of course, am one of your illustrious hosts, Jacob, and I am joined by 2 other illustrious hosts.
I'm Daisy. I'm on Twitter. I'll plug myself. It is at Boutmachines, BOUTMACHINES. I'm just here. I'm not very illustrious though. And yeah, our third person.
I'm Tani. I'm on Twitter at Hangman Pages. If I have to spell that out for you, I don't think you're at the right podcast.
Yeah. So, since we did lose our epic, fun, drunk, all-out review podcast, you didn't get to hear our thoughts on the amazing debuts of the likes of Ruby Soho, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and Suzuki, which we'll get into all that. But we just wanted to start off to just giving you some of our thoughts on the new additions, and particularly, I think, Tani. She had a lot to say on our Lost podcast. Do you want to say something for Adam Cole?
Hey, bae.
A eulogy.
A eulogy. A eulogy for
a
Adam
reverse
Cole.
eulogy.
It's like a eulogy, except he has arisen from the grave. I'm really excited for Adam Cole. I feel like I'm all screamed out about Adam Cole, which is because of it's all I have been thinking about for the last week. I truly have spent every day looking at that Adam Cole is all elite picture, because it still feels extremely surreal, because as we'll talk about, like, obviously Bryan Danielson also debuted at All Out, and that was amazing too, and that's a whole game changer. But we kind of knew he was coming. We were about 98% sure he was coming for a long time after that got leaked. Whereas, like, Adam Cole was still very much up in the air. Like, we knew that his contract had expired earlier than we thought, and apparently earlier than he thought too. And that he hadn't yet... We weren't sure yet, but that he had signed back with WWE, but they hadn't removed him from any of their roster pages or anything like that. And so we weren't sure if he was going to show up at AEW or if he was going to show up back on Smackdown or Raw or wherever they were going to put him, if they were to put him on the main roster. And even if he was to show up on AEW, we didn't know when. So it was a big, very pleasant surprise, and it still feels really surreal to see him in AEW, but it fits. I think he's finally home. It works. I'm very excited about it.
For sure.
Very excited about it.
Him being back with the Elite, it feels so unpredictable and exciting, and it was really, even more than the Danielson thing and the Ruby Soho. It maybe not as much as the Suzuki thing, because that really felt like this, just like, aside from everything else, this really cool moment for Suzuki to come out and get that fanfare. But Adam Cole coming out just felt like, more than anyone else, just like this game changer to be in AEW. Daisy, do you have anything on the new signings?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm most happy about, and I've said this a few times over the past week, the thing I love the most about Adam Cole, aside from obviously his wrestling skill, which we're all super aware of, is the fact that his addition into the little pool, into the Elite pool, if there is a metaphorical pool there, of all like the little Elite members swimming around, him coming in, it shakes things up so much, because it almost feels like the past 2.5 to 3 years of AEW's existence, the path has been clear. Like, the future, we've all kind of known what's going to happen with Hangman, his journey through the Elite, with Kenny and the Bucks. It was like we all sort of knew what was going down, what was going to happen, and which side people were going to be on, right? But with the addition of Adam Cole, it's just that one extra person coming in that could change absolutely everything. You don't know where he's going to lie in terms of morality coming in. He could pull the Bucks away from Kenny. They could be faces. He could, he's a bit of a little evil man himself, so he could do more evil things with them. We just don't know, and I love that so much, because despite the fact that the story has been like massively praised over the past couple of years with Hangman, I think that the only thing that it sort of suffered with was the predictability of it. So I'm hyped about that, and obviously Bryan Danielson is really cool, and yeah, I love that he wears a white shirt and not his own merch. I don't know why.
That is his merch.
That is his
That
merch.
is
a white shirt.
That is Bryan. You go to PWTs and they will be putting out the first Bryan Danielson shirt, and it's just going to be a plain white shirt, only yours for $35.
It's going to be even more expensive than the Supreme logo, because it's just a white shirt. It doesn't even have a logo. That's insane.
I know. Yeah. No, maybe it does, but it's just white. It might just be
we just can't see it.
Covered in AW branding, but it's printed in white, so you can only see it when you get really close.
In the right lighting, it's in a different material.
Yeah, like the glossy matte finish thing going on. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Thing is, I would buy that shirt if it had like little white AEW things that you could only see up close. I'd probably unironically buy that.
Even if it's a V-neck?
Especially if it's a V-neck. I love V-neck shirts.
All right. I won't say.
The disappointment in Daisy's voice over V-necks.
The fashion police.
I think our podcast just ended over V-necks.
It's fine. Yeah. Well, I mean, what did you think about D-Bry or B-Dry? B-Dry? Is he B-Dry now?
B-Dry.
What did you think about that, Jake?
Brydan, right? Yeah.
Brydan.
The rise of Brydan.
From Croydon.
Bryan Danielson showing up, it's like immediately clear from his promo that we'll get to on Dynamite that he's not Daniel Bryan. He is very much Bryan Danielson. He shows up and he just wants to kick people and he wants to lock people in submissions, and I'm really excited to get that version of him, because we're kind of getting that on the tail end of his WWE run, when he was just being like with Drew Gulak, being like submission dudes. That was fun, but getting this intense version, and it's not that he's just like intense, because he's not like seething rage Bryan Danielson. He's like, I have fun. My way of having fun is kicking the shit out of people and making people tap out. And he, made it very clear from day one and then day two that he wants to go after Kenny. And I think that's a great place for him to be. But
do you have theories on that, by the way? Like, how do you think it's gonna go down?
Should we get to that later when we talk more about the segment?
If you want, yeah.
Because I want to, because we were talking about Adam Cole, and we'll also talk about him in that segment because he had a very funny interaction with Tony Schiavone. But I wanted to ask you, since we were mentioning sort of his departure from WWE, how did you guys feel about the report that one of the plans for Adam Cole's call up was to be the heel manager of heel Keith Lee?
I had
It's
thoughts on
stupid. It's I'm like, I can't. It's just stupid. It's so stupid. Why would you have Adam Cole as a manager? He's not even hit his prime yet. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And you're gonna put him as a manager, but then also it's just so offensive to Keith Lee as well, who can talk. And it was like, ugh. Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I think that
I mean,
a great summation. Yeah, Daisy?
yeah. I saw a lot of people saying when this sort of news broke, like, oh my god, you're a fucking idiot if you think this is true. This is classic Meltzer. Classic Meltzer just lying, whatever. But if you look at WWE's track record with these things, it is like the most WWE thing they could have done. They've had Sami Zayn be a manager for a very long time when he was managing Shinsuke Nakamura. Obviously, it was compared. I think Meltzer himself compared it to Leo Rush managing Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a classic thing. They don't like the little guys having the spotlight. And even though Adam Cole isn't 5'2", they kind of see him as a little guy. And I don't believe at all that Vince McMahon has ever seen an Adam Cole match, ever. I mean, the fact that he never met him was one thing, but yeah, to put him in a managerial position, he is a great talker. We know this, but it just seems silly to do that to someone who is as skilled as he is and who is as young as he is. Because I mean, he's just going to waste away his best years being a manager, which just makes no sense. So the grass is much greener on this side. I think he's going to have a much better part of his career at AEW than he would have at WWE with those, with that in place.
But could you imagine the world? Could you imagine the world of generic big monster Keith Lee and little Adam Cole standing next to him, jumping around, being his hype man? Wouldn't the world just suck even more if that were to have happened?
Yeah, it sucks enough as it is. I don't need that as well.
Could
That
you
made it so much worse.
could you imagine Adam Cole like talking smack to someone like Bobby Lashley, and then Bobby Lashley looks at him wrong, and Adam Cole goes, "Oh, don't hurt me," and then he hides behind Keith Lee because he's a much bigger person. It's just, I can't. When that came out, I got like legit very mad. I was like, how can anyone have an idea this bad? It's WWE. They're good at it. But let's move on to something that's not WWE, and therefore something that is objectively better. Dynamite this week happened, and I think it was a pretty good show.
Someone please run me through the card again. I think I was like functioning on maybe like 2.5 hours sleep during that episode.
We can run through the card right now. We started off with Alistair Malachi Black. I don't know how I still get that wrong. Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes, where Malachi Black pulled out a shoe and Dustin Rhodes got real angry about it.
I think Daisy should take the reins on this one because it's a Malachi Black segment.
Of course. What are your thoughts on the Malachi Black match?
My thoughts are that, like, where the hell was Cody? Why did they just announce that Cody is gonna, be at Grand Slam in 2 weeks? Like, I guess his boot was there, but like, was his spirit around the ring or something? Like, where did the announcement come from? Surely he should have run out after Malachi beat Dustin. I mean, that's obviously not my thoughts on the match itself. The match itself was good. It was good. It maybe ran on longer than I would have liked it to run on because it's Dustin, and unfortunately it's Dustin, and I don't find like the most enjoyment from a Dustin match. It's not his fault. It's just Malachi was great. I really liked his new trunks. Side note, they look really good. But yeah, where was Cody? What happened? I mean, does anyone know what what happened?
I mean, Cody was there. Did you not see him? He was like tiny and he climbed out of the boot.
The grandma that lives in the shoe. Is Cody who lives in the
Yeah,
wrestling
he climbed out of the boot. Like Malachi shook the boot and Cody fell out of it, like this tiny little pocket Cody. And then he cut a promo on Malachi, but he was so small that we didn't hear it.
Honey, I shrunk the Cody.
Yeah, exactly. Brandy's like looking for him right now, but he's like lost under the couch.
He's still running from the ring up to like the entrance ramp.
He's still in Chicago. They keep
We're even in Chicago for the show.
Yeah, they keep accidentally almost stepping on him, and he's got to like swerve away from everybody. It's real grim.
You have to ride ants for transportation.
Yeah, like Pharaoh almost ate him. It's a problem that I hope AEW fixes at some point, because you can't have one of your best mid-carders tiny and almost getting eaten by a dog.
Best mid-carder might be the best thing, the funniest thing you just said just now. And you went on a long, funny rant.
Though, that match and that entire show, someone had a sign referencing that amazing moment. Someone had
so good.
Wasn't it? It was like the "You Follow Me, Friend" sign. Like whoever that was in the audience, I love you. Thank you.
You follow me, friend. I don't think Cody is a mid-carder, but
no, you just said it. It's on the internet now.
But like, it was complimentary. He's the best mid-carder.
You're my favorite mid-carder, Cody.
He is my favorite mid-carder. I love Cody. And he's definitely obviously main event worthy, but I just feel like he does well as the leader of the mid-carders. I think that's where he truly lies as a face. However, as a heel, that's top card material. Heel Cody, top card main eventer, because I feel like that's a good segue into what Daisy asked, which is, what do we think's happening with that? And in all seriousness, I hope there is some swerve leading up to, what was it, Arthur Ashe? They're gonna verse each other?
Yep.
Yeah. I hope there's something there where Cody has a big shake-up of character and not some, like, coward shake-up like he did with the dog collar match with the late great Brody Lee, where he came back with dark hair and like the cool entrance, and I lost my mind because I was like, we're finally getting like heel Cody, or like at least some form of emo heel Cody, and he just dyed his hair back after the match. That was atrocious.
Just keep coming back and being the conquering babyface every time. It's gonna get old. It is getting old, at least to a portion of the fan base. For some reason, live crowds just love Cody, and like, good for them. But I'm really tired of live crowds reinforcing Cody's babyfaceness, because I don't want him to be a babyface anymore. I think it's not tired, but the way he's doing it is, and like, it's very old school, and I get that he respects old school wrestling mentality, and I respect that he respects it, but he needs to shake it up at some point. And if he just comes back and beats Malachi Black again, like, not again, but like, if he comes back and beats Malachi Black as a conquering hero, and like, oh, I've vanquished this greater evil amongst us, I'm genuinely not gonna like that, and it's annoying.
It seems like a terrible mistake if they do that, doesn't it? Like, you can't do that. It almost feels like that might be enough to push the live crowd over the edge. I don't know what they think is the thing. Like, I can never tell between like my online interactions with people and the IRL crowds, because they always seem so different. But like, does anyone want Malachi to lose? Like, does anyone want that? Does anyone really want Cody to come back and be Cody, just normal Cody, and to beat him, and it will all, like, be for nothing? Is that... I almost feel like that might be enough for the crowd to turn on him, because it's just... It seems like such a boring ending to this story that we've been having for the past month or 2 months.
Even, like, the live crowds are starting to turn on him, for lack of a better word. Like, that they've started booing him a bit when he comes out because it's red hot for Malachi at the moment. So I think he just needs to lean into it, because I don't think he'll ever, very much like the elite, like Kenny, at least Kenny is the best example of this. He's never going to be fully booed because he is popular and he's like one of the founding fathers of AEW, and people will always love him for that. But they'll start to get lukewarm on him, where he's not getting those massive pops and those massive cheers like he used to, and I think that's worse somehow. I think he just needs to go balls to walls and just become like he was in New Japan and Ring of Honor after he left WWE, just this like really good, sadistic, insufferable heel, because that's what he's always been the best at doing. And he could honestly rule the heel scene in AEW, because he's the best person to portray that kind of like almost like abusive power thing. Because I feel like evil sadistic Cody that also abuses his EVP position in kayfabe people would loathe him, but like loathe him for the right reasons. Not like he's being half cheered by the live crowds and then people are genuinely not liking him because of the incessant patriotism and just the all-around boringness of the staleness of the character anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's
I think we all just need a shake-up from him.
Guys, I'm just gonna need you to give me a second, because literally as we were talking about Cody beating Malachi, my dog puked on the carpet.
Oh. Well, that's
so
fun.
I'm gonna need to just really quickly go out for 2 seconds, but I'll be back. Give me a minute.
We're keeping this all in. And then after that cut
going very smoothly.
is we haven't cut anything. And then after that cut, we got the CM Punk segment. We're finally here. CM Punk came out to the Cincinnati crowd, had a lot of... He said wrestling was like riding a violent bicycle. You never forget, that old thing. He spread some love for Linda Pillman. That's her name?
Yeah. Linda fucking Pillman.
That was a lovely moment. Obviously, it's going to work into something that caused a lot of controversy this week that we'll get into. And essentially, the whole crux of this promo was, hey, live crowd, who should I fight next? And then the live crowd starts yelling names at him. He teased getting into a feud with Moxley because he mentioned him a lot since they were in Cincinnati. But then, as Tawny predicted a long time ago, Team Taz stood up from commentary and was like, hey, Punk, hey, you better keep the names of my guys out of your mouth. I can't do a Taz impression. I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm walking here.
I'm walking here.
It.
I'm from New York. I don't.
Oh my god, Tazjaman, what are you doing? And then I keep seeing the clip, which I know would drive Daisy up the goddamn wall all the time, of Punk being like, send Hook.
Send Hook.
Send Hook.
Daisy Hook hater out here.
How can you
probably
hate
won't
him?
be thrilled if like Hook's first match
Is beating CM Punk?
It's just against CM Punk in general, because it feels a little unfair unless Hook is this amazing wrestling prodigy and he goes out there and it's an incredible match, in which case we'll backtrack, but otherwise it feels a bit nepotistic.
Yeah, Taz just he stands up, says, "Hey Punk, you better stop talking about my guys." CM Punk's like, "I never mentioned your guys," and he's like, "Yeah, no, you did it on like social media and stuff." And Hook and Hobbs come out, and CM Punk, with like the best part of his promo was him being like, "Yeah, I'll fight Hook, I'll fight Hobbs, I'll fight Starks," and then he throws Taz's line right back at him, and it was a real good promo. Daisy, any thoughts on CM Punk versus the entirety of Team Taz?
That was really cool. I liked the promo. I loved how real it felt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like, obviously it's a scripted wrestling promo, we all know this, but it felt really natural and it was really cool. And I saw some people, including Sean Rossap, saying it was weird, but like I love that stuff. When it feels real, it makes it better. And the only thing that didn't feel real was Taz randomly standing up and being like, don't talk about Hook and don't talk about Ricky Starks, because he didn't say anything. He didn't.
Poor Punk.
He didn't mention them at all, in fact. But yeah, it was cool. I know that CM Punk really wants to go against Ricky, so I think that's the aim of the game. And Brian Cage is gone, so I assume, obviously maybe not, with all the stuff we'll talk about that later. Maybe CM Punk is going to have a tag match with Brian Cage against Starks and Hobbs, or Starks and Hook or something. I don't know.
They are both Marvel
cool.
nerds.
I mean, I didn't know that, but there you go. That'll be cool. I'm happy with it. I like him. I like him. I was going to say something that sounded like an innuendo. I like him having matches against the younger guys. It feels right for him, where Daniel Bryan coming in made the opposite point of he's not there. Obviously he is deep down, but he's not there to help the younger guys, he's there to fight them. But I think CM Punk really wants to help the younger guys, so I'm really happy with it, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought of this just now, and it might be a stupid thought that I have at 3 a.m., but could you guys see CM Punk maybe joining up with Team Taz?
Ooh. I mean, I don't think
not now,
he's
right?
ready
No.
to be. I don't think he's ready to be a heel yet. But at some point, yeah, I would like that.
Like, if you had to put him in any faction in AEW, it would be Team Taz, right? Like, is there one that he would fit better?
No, I would put him in the Vicious Vixens.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Wingmen.
The Wingman. No, I think Team Taz.
I think he'd fit pretty well in like with like his persona right now. I think he'd fit in the growing best friends, whatever the hell that is, faction, or the best friends. I think he'd fit in there pretty well.
Oh, that'd be great. And then after Hobbs versus Dante Martin, which was a good match. It was a good TV match. It kind of looked like Hobbs got his bell rung, or maybe like hurt his knee. He didn't look 100% by the end of the match, but he won, giving him a push forward. And nothing has come out about him being injured, so I don't think it's anything to worry about. But after that match, do either of you have thoughts on the Dante Martin Hobbs match?
I liked the one spot that I can remember really vividly was when, I don't know what Dante was trying to do actually. I think he was trying to do like a tope or something was happening where he was jumping out of the ropes.
Yeah.
And Hook caught him and like threw him against the corner. That was really cool. Did I say Hook?
You did. And
You
honestly,
definitely
that
did.
would have been amazing.
I got the brain now. Hobbs did it.
You've got his
That
hooks
was
in your
really
brain.
cool. I don't want him to be in there. Get him out, please. And then the other bit where he like, I was watching this with my brother, and he like audibly gasped, which he doesn't often like make any facial reaction when he's watching wrestling. But when Hobbs just like threw him in the ring, and he like, it looked like he soared up in the sky. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a good match. So those are my thoughts. Really, it was a good match, a good one.
Yeah, but next we had, if I'm not forgetting anything, and I don't think I am, we had a very controversial promo from MJF
Was
MJ.
it?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh my
yeah,
god, it
there
was.
was a lot of controversy around this one. Him coming out, he came out to address his loss to Chris Jericho, and the crowd is just like dogging on him this whole time, being like, "You tapped out, you suck." And so MJF just thinks, "Okay, I don't want to talk about my loss, so I'm just gonna shit on Cincinnati ruthlessly." And he goes like pretty vicious, more vicious than most. Hey, this town I'm in sucks promos. Uh, and then he turned his attention to the Pillman family because Brian Pillman is obviously from Cincinnati, and he zeroes in on Pillman's daughter, who was pregnant at the time. She actually went into labor immediately after this. Uh, but he basically started calling her ugly and fat, and that 16 and pregnant and you look ugly, what MJF does. And then that causes Brian Pillman Jr. to come out. He's like, "Hey, don't talk about my family, don't talk about my town, that's mean." And MJF just goes nuclear, starts talking about how Brian Pillman's mom should have swallowed, called her like methany, I think was the term.
Yeah.
Was myth.
And then he was about to say, "Your mom should have aborted you," when Brian Pillman Jr. double-legged him and started getting a beat down on him. But this promo caused a lot of controversy, and it sort of sparked the question that comes up every few weeks is, how far is a heel allowed to go in a heel promo?
I mean, I thought that promo wasn't as bad as it could have been. I thought it was fine. But that was because I was terrified he'd make a dead dad joke, and I would personally have to fly to America and beat his ass. But other than that, like the way I always look at these heel promos is that I know that MJF okayed it with Brian Pillman Jr. Like, I don't think he said anything that was like controversial or that could be offensive that he didn't okay with the Pillmans. And so I think it was fine because I feel like everyone involved in it is fine with it, and it really, really put Bryan over even more, even though he was already super over, especially in his hometown. But like, I think it put him over even more, and it really made it satisfying to watch him beat up on it in defense, to beat up on MJF in defense of his family, and it's gonna be really, it just really sets the scene for a really red hot match between the two of them. I don't think that really answered your question. Can a heel go too far? Like, I feel like, yeah, definitely heels can go too far, but I don't think in this case it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Daisy?
I agree. Yeah, I think my sort of line, or my internal line, I suppose, when it comes to heel promos is like, nothing is off limits until you hit bigotry, which MJF never does. Which I think that's the most important thing to me is don't be a bigot, because it's just not good. Don't do that. And consent is very important. So don't say anything that your target doesn't know is going to happen, that they're not okay with, or don't touch on a topic such as, I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but as Max casted the other week or the other month, don't talk about anything that might be criminal relating to, sex crimes that especially does not involve you. You don't know the person, I think that those sort of things, this might be controversial. I think you could touch on that if you had the consent of the person, but I think that would never happen anyway. So I think that MJF never really crosses the line. I think, and it might be uncomfortable for some people, the things that he says. I understand that, but all I am appreciative of for him is that he doesn't resort to bigotry, and that is such a easy way to get heat. People talk about MJF and cheap heat all the time. He just uses cheap heat, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't go much further than, I don't know, calling people incest hillbillies or whatever, He's not being an actual bigot, and that's why I tend to be totally fine with the stuff that he says. But they definitely can go too far, as we've seen in the past. But yeah, those are my lines there.
Well, and what I think this might be leading to, because we found out later in the night after Griff Garrison came out to try to make the save, because it was 2-on-1 on Pillman. Griff Garrison gets knocked out by the ring, and later in a segment when he's in the trainer's room, Brian Pillman Jr. says, I got a match with MJF for Arthur Ashe, which is a very big stage to be putting, because Brian Pillman Jr. hasn't been really pushed. Like, he gets wins on Dark as a part of the Varsity Blondes, but he hasn't really gotten a singles push, especially in AEW yet. But one of the things they were teasing in this segment is Wardlow is not happy with MJF, and MJF is not happy with Wardlow. So I think they might be setting up possibly a win for Brian Pillman Jr. after Wardlow turns on MJF.
I haven't even thought about that. That's a great idea.
We've been building to Wardlow turning on MJF for so long. It's like, I feel like it's one of, like, when we talk about long-term storytelling in AEW, we, people mention Hangman and the Elite in general, but I feel like MJF and Wardlow has been one that's been simmering under the radar for a long time, and it's going to be really good when that goes down.
And then,
I remember the Wardlow to Dark Order tease? Because I remember
what?
that. That was
I remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was all these bits on BTE where he was hanging out with the Dark Order. He kept taking like Snapchats with the Dark Order and stuff. And then it just like fizzled out. I don't know if they went back on their plans or whatever, but yeah, I remember that.
It was like Silver was a bit like in love with him because he's big and buff, and he ended up being like a bouncer for their clubhouse a few times.
I don't remember this. That's amazing.
He did hang out with him a bit. It's quite fun. Like, I feel like Wardlow has the shades of a baby face, because at the end of the day he's being hired by MJF. That's the canon storyline there, yeah. So it's gonna be very good, I think. When he breaks free of himself, and the female demo will go through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Our next big talking point, I think this comes after the women's match, and it was Ruby Soho versus Jamie Hayter. It was, pretty good match. I don't think there was much to talk about, except Ruby Soho is pretty damn good in the ring. There was also that promo where Britt Baker said, wasn't it, why don't you go back to catering where you've been this whole time, or whatever?
Was that on Rampage?
No, that was on Dynamite, where she made the catering comment.
Oh yeah, because in the Battle Royale stuff. Yeah, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, it like the women's stuff. It's like, I feel like now that Ruby Soho is here, they're gonna try to push the women more, but that's gonna come with the next few weeks. I think this match, Hayter versus Soho, was what it needed to be. A good showcase for Soho. But our next talking point would be the Elite promo. Nick Jackson has a stupid nose ring thing.
Stupid.
It was real stupid.
Real distracting, real stupid. Okay, here.
Easy going, it looked fantastic. It looked bad, man. It looked like he had like a really long line of snot coming out of his nose. Like, if it'd been, I think, a little bit more statement-y, it might have been able to pull it off, but it was too fine for me, and so it just was distracting, because I was like, what is that on your face, bro? Get that off there.
Okay, what was worse, the nose ring or the facial hair at All Out?
Oh, facial hair. I'll take the nose chain any day.
I didn't even notice it until someone pointed it out after the match. Someone was like, "Hey, did Nick have some stupid facial hair?" And I watched it again with a friend of mine, and I was like, "Oh my god, he totally does. How did I not see
How
this
did
for
you
an
miss it?
entire match?" I don't know. It
As
just
soon as he
wasn't
walked
in my
out,
brain. I didn't
as
see
soon
it
as
at
he
all.
walked out, like we screamed. We were on Discord and we just shrieked because it's like, what the fuck is on your face, Nicholas?
And someone on my timeline compared him to the Lorax, and like it was just I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, that comparison's
just
good.
like the fucking Lorax.
But yeah, so
nose ring.
this promo. First of all, I think this is the most Nick has talked on Dynamite ever, introducing Adam Cole here. So that was like I noticed him talking more than I noticed his facial hair at All Out. I was like, is Nick talking right now? That never happens. But yeah, he calls out Adam Cole because the elite is complete. Everyone's here. Everyone that matters. No one's missing. And
I miss the elite, man.
Adam Cole comes out and he first order of business, he doesn't hit the boom on the boom. His song has a very clear get ready for the boom, and he points at himself not on when it says boom. Why? Why
because he's used to his NXT song. But leave him alone.
His NXT song says boom once like every 3 minutes.
He's just used to it. He's
perfectly timed that.
It.
This new song says boom really loud, like every 5 seconds. And he can't line it up with one of the booms?
Mikey really tried to help him there, and he thought he was in NXT for a second.
I think he was
leave him alone.
To do something, and they just didn't. So we just moved on.
But yeah, he comes out. He does the story time with Adam Cole, Bebe, which I didn't know was a thing of his, but I think that's pretty cool thing to say. And he immediately starts dogging on Tony Schiavone for talking to his girlfriend. Like, what the fuck, bro? You talking to my girlfriend? If you get too close to her, we're gonna have problems. Real jock stuff. He calls him a nerd, for Christ's sake. He literally says, "Get out of my ring, nerd."
Like 7
very
times.
ironic. I love it when the elite like dunk on other people for being dorks or nerds, because those guys are just a bunch of the biggest nerds in the company. It's quite funny. Like, especially like Kenny, you're gonna call Tony Schiavone a nerd? Kenneth, Mr. Street Fighter? Come on now. I love it though. It's such a funny insult.
Yeah, so you were ranting about before that cut. Oh, there's so many this time. Sorry, Daisy. You were talking about Adam Cole calling Tony Schiavone a nerd.
I was about to say it's like, and I think someone made the edit on Twitter, which I'm grateful for, but it literally was just directly reminding me of the Simpsons bit where Homer hangs out the window and yells "nerd" at some guy walking past. It was a funny and unexpected moment because I didn't think he'd bring up Brit that quickly, but he truly did, and it was great.
Daisy, do you have anything you want to add to this "don't touch my girl" debacle?
I think it spoke for itself, really. Yeah. I mean, it was the elephant in the room. Everyone wanted him to address it. Tony was there. Get it out of the way. Yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I think it was just funny, and I like it when they're funny. But Tony took you know what? I know we haven't got into it yet, but I think the fact that Tony took like 10 minutes to exit the ring is the reason why Kazi Nidore got cut.
Yeah, and we'll get into the Suzuki incident later.
The Suzuki incident in Cincinnati.
Ground zeros. But yeah, so Adam Cole cut just like a pretty standard, hey, AEW is pretty cool, isn't it? promo, but he was talking about how now that the Elite is complete, you're going to see Adam Cole. He isn't even in his prime yet, and he's still getting better, and he's already one of the best in the world. And then he hands off the microphone to Kenny. Kenny starts to talk about how there was an interruption at All Out, and he really doesn't like interruptions. And the exact moment he says he doesn't like interruptions, what should happen? But Bryan Danielson comes out to interrupt him again. Kenny says, "Hey guys, can we have the ring? I want to talk to Danielson, just him and I. Have a real heart-to-heart here." Danielson gets in the ring and basically lays out the challenge. I'm here to face the best in the world, but it really seems like you don't want to face someone who might be better than you. It's what I was saying earlier about this being like a new, very driven, very just looking for a challenge Bryan Danielson, instead of being any sort of happy-go-lucky babyface or a conniving, evil, sadistic heel. He's just, I want to fight. I'm going to fight. And if you don't want to fight, I'm going to fight you anyway. And when
I'm gonna make you.
Kenny Omega tried to go for like a clothesline after rejecting his challenge, essentially, Danielson got him in what I think he's going to call the LaBelle Lock again. Is that owned by WWE?
The Yes Lock.
Is it still called? I feel like Yes Lock might be owned by WWE. Weirdly enough.
But I don't think any of us will be able to see it without thinking of it as the Yes Lock.
I've always called it the LaBelle Lock because when I was like 11 and starting to watch wrestling, that's what it was called. It's not. It's literally. It's not me being pretentious. It's literally what it was called when I was a kid, and I was like, "That's what that move is called." And then they turned it into the No Lock, which was stupid, and then they turned it into the Yes Lock, which was also stupid. And so yeah, it's like it's always the LaBelle Lock to me. Yeah, and Kenny Omega tapped out immediately, which is a great little detail. The Elite runs in to make the save. All of the Jungle Express and Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, come down. Real sad, the push of Frankie Kazarian. That isn't a push at all.
Oh.
But we are getting Adam Cole versus Frankie Kazarian, and I'm excited about that.
We should talk, like, on the next episode. I would, like, after when we can cover the Kaz versus Adam Cole match, I would like to talk about Frankie Kazarian's push, because I'm still stewing about that. Still stewing.
Of course. Thoughts on this segment, though?
It was good.
Cool.
Daisy?
I think that I don't have any down. Oh yeah, that's it. It was good.
Cool. It was good. I mean, hey, that's as good as an endorsement as you can get around here. Is, hey, that was pretty good. But that does free us up now to talk about just that tragic Suzuki incident.
I might start to cry.
It was truly the darkest point. One of the darkest points in AEW history, nay, in wrestling history.
It was horrific. It was disrespectful, and honestly, I can't believe they're moving forward without putting out a statement about this. And of course,
we need to hold Tony Khan up to a trial, judged by his peers, a jury of his peers, to sentence him for this crime. Because, really, have you ever seen such a horrific crime committed on wrestling television before?
Of course, what we're talking about is, so this might be hard to hear. I won't blame anyone for skipping ahead or tuning out as I explain this horrible incident, but it's just so hard to think about. Suzuki starts walking to the ring to his beloved theme song, Kaze ni Nare. And he, normally, and we all love it, we'd see him walk through the ropes, the exact moment the song says "Kaze ni nare," but oh god, it's just too much. Honestly, they cut the music before he did that. A horrific moment in wrestling history, if there ever was one.
Personally, cannot wait for the Dark Side of the Ring episode about this incident. If you couldn't tell, because I don't know how well sarcasm translates over podcast, that was almost all sarcastic.
I'm being 100% serious.
We're gonna have problems if you are.
No, it's like people are getting all up in arms because everyone likes Minoru Suzuki's theme. Everyone really likes the Kaze ni Nare gimmick, and like obviously we all wanted to hear that Cincinnati crowd do the Kaze ni Nare thing, because when it happened in Chicago, it was really loud and really cool, and it really let just the everyone watching at home know that the people in these crowds know who these New Japan people are, which is really like it gives confidence to the Forbidden Door thing. But him coming out here and not getting his full entrance because they're being pressed for time, which was, that's a problem. But the song getting cut is not that big of a deal, especially because they're now making it into a storyline, which will get us more Suzuki on AEW, which is better.
And we get Suzuki Gun in
Yay.
AEW. Well, we get Lance and Suzuki, but I'm just hoping that opening Suzuki Gun up like this to AEW means we get the rest of Suzuki's naughty murder children coming over at some point, because I think I would lose it more than I lost it for Adam Cole if Desperado showed up at any point, because I love Despy. I love Despy. I'll take Zach. I'll even take Zach, but Despy.
I don't think that's possible, Tiny. I don't think you could ever get louder than... I mean, you cried.
True.
You cried.
You
I've never heard you like that. I've never heard you like that. I don't think it would get louder than Adam Cole, but I know it would be good.
To be fair, I was also fairly drunk at the time.
You would have done it anyway. You can't get out of it now.
I have a reputation to maintain.
No shame. I cry at
Daisy.
everything.
Yeah. But yeah, this... Like, obviously we're making fun of the one person on Twitter that made it out, that like really picked up steam making it out to be such a bigger crime than it was. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Honestly, the bigger crime here was how short the match ended up being. It was still pretty good match. The fact that Suzuki's eye started bleeding near the end, and it just gave him like almost like Road Warrior face paint, but of blood. That was super cool, and the match was good. It's just really short, and then he had about 3 minutes of celebrating, which, you could argue, watching Moxley celebrate with the crowd and like give them time to plug everything that's happening in the next show. But yeah, it was criminally short.
Oh, I heard somewhere that Mox and Suzuki made the decision to end it short. Potentially because of Suzuki's facial injury.
Oh, like on the fly? Who reported that? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I heard some people saying it though. Could be complete bullshit.
I mean, I don't have any doubt that they sort of had an idea that they were going to cut it short because, they're running a certain amount of time, and maybe there was even like, we know we have this much time, and when you're in the ring, keeping track of time might be hard. I'm speaking out my ass right now, but this was my thought when I saw how short it ended up being and that you had 3 minutes left. My immediate thought was that they knew they only had a certain amount of time and maybe they miscalculated. Yeah.
Same thing. Like, it's sort of like, I don't know what was happening in the ending, but to have the music cut and then the match end short, and then to have that extra time at the end, it does almost feel like maybe, before they went out, production was like, okay, guys, you got to cut it by a couple of minutes because we don't have the time at the moment. And they just ended it too soon. I don't know what happened. It was pretty weird. We kind of, the celebrating was odd because you could tell, like, they were plugging the stuff, but you could tell at the end it was like commentary was just kind of making noise because it just kept going. It kept going. There was 3 or 4 minutes. So it was definitely some poor time management at the end there. It was weird. It was a weird end to the show. But it was fine. It's not a big deal.
Every minute Moxley spent celebrating outside of the ring after the match could have been another minute that the crowd said the words Kaze ni Nare while a man walked through the ropes. Just saying.
Exactly.
Oh. It wasn't that bad. People, I think, were making far too big of a deal of it. As they were for the entire show. Like, a lot of people didn't like that. There was a lot of talking in it, but I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy the talking episodes, the promo episodes, because it does allow for more storyline foundation to be set and for more storylines to continue. And I liked it. It was a good show.
Yeah. And I think now is when we're going to take a small walk to Friday nights when we're now talking about Rampage and pretty much the only match that mattered on Rampage. Pac versus Andrade. It was a really good match. Turns out. Fun fact.
Poor Chavo, though.
Poor Chavo.
Poor Chavo. It was a good match. It was a very good match. I'm glad it was very good as well because people have been doubting Andrade, like, regardless of what you think of his attitude or anything like that. Like, he is a phenomenal wrestler and he's only had 1 match in AEW so far and people were dismissing him for that match as if that match also wasn't good. It just wasn't obviously Pac versus Andrade good because Matt Sydal is not Pac. But it was super good. True. That is very much correct. But I like the move, and I'm bad with wrestling move names, but I like the move he did off the turnbuckle and did a little spin in the air onto Pac. That was superb.
At risk of being wrong, I believe that move is called a tornillo.
A tornillo. I like it.
I could be very wrong.
Days, what did you think?
Man, I swear to God, I have been saying for a very long... Well, I mean, it hasn't been that long since he left WWE, but I feel like I've been bashing my head against a wall, as I have been with a lot of the ex-WWE guys, where I've said many times, like, fuck Andrade for being a dickhead and for doing the things that he's done. But I've said, like, many a time that he's being underestimated. I don't know why people just writ him off immediately after that Matt Sydal match as if it was bad when it wasn't bad. It was what it was. It was just against Matt Sydal. It didn't need to be anything insane. His Kenny match was also really good. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. And then it's like this one came and everyone was so shocked that it was good. And it's like, man, what did you think was going to happen? Like, he just left the company and, like, lost his 17 years of experience or something? Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't shocked at all at how good the match was because I watched NXT during his original NXT run, and that's obviously where I got my Malachi love from, was that era of NXT. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He knows what he's doing, and watching that match, he's not even at full power yet. He was amazing in that match, but he can absolutely do better than that, and I think he might just be saving it for a follow-up or whatever. It was cool. He got a lot of really nice moves out that not many guys have in AEW, which I find to be the biggest benefit of new guys coming in is diversifying the moves, because a lot of the guys sort of have similar moves coming from the same places, I guess, on the indies and stuff like that. I love the little spinny thing he did that Rey Fenix does sometimes, where he jumped off the turnbuckle and did like what would you even call that? A horizontal spin? A horizontal spin with his body to land on Pac. Obviously, the thing where he dropped onto the ropes with the flip was really cool. It was fast-paced. It was really good. Obviously, Pac was also incredible, as he always is. But I don't think that it was like a thing where Andrade was being carried through it or anything. Like, he was in it just as much as Pac was. And it was great, yeah. I thought it was amazing. Obviously, the ending was a bit wonky, particularly because of the camera work. It was like, the camera was focused on the ramp, and then it cut back to the ring where you could see for a split second that Chavo was hitting Pac with, I think, a belt? Well, I don't know what it was. Hitting him with
the
something.
iPad.
An iPad. Even better. Hitting him with the iPad, and then it cut back in like a second. It was super weird. Like, I think that might have been better received if it was shot from a different angle, or if it was shot slightly better than that, but I understand things happen in live shows where you can't go back and change it. And yeah, like you said, poor Chavo. It's obviously a big sign that Ric Flair's about to come in. And Andrade has run through a manager per match at this rate. He's gonna have 3 by the time he's had 3 matches, which is just crazy.
That's honestly an amazing gimmick.
Yeah,
just
a new manager per match.
Every time he has a match, it's just like, no, this one isn't working. I need a new person to be in my corner.
And I would also just like...
I mean, my feelings on Ric Flair. So if he's in for one match and then he goes, I'm good.
Also, especially if the way he goes is Andrade kicking him up the ramp as well. I'd appreciate that. I mean, what else happened on Rampage? I mean, I like the Brian Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster main event. I like that they put them in the main event too. Like, they're up and comers, I guess.
Yeah, it gives Brian Pillman a good win in the main event in front of his hometown, and then they had a beatdown angle where Jon Moxley came out to help, and you had the 2 Cincinnati boys sending the crowd home happy, which was just a good call. But we also had the women's 6-person tag, which it was very functional. Again, like I said on Dynamite, I feel like they are starting to put a bit more effort into getting more people on these shows, but it's going to take a bit of time for them to really figure out how to do that in a way that makes sense consistently, because having just Soho, Statlander, and Riho as a team randomly for one episode of Rampage is good. It's fine, but it's not going to be fine forever.
I am so glad that you agree with me on that, because like, while they were really cute as a trio, like, it didn't make much sense beyond the fact that they're all baby faces. Like, what is the relationship here? Why Riho? I don't know. It was like, these 3 people are all really great individually, but why are we putting them together? Especially when they're opposing like an established, like, sort of mini faction of like 3 women. Like, obviously Rebel's going to take the pin here, but it doesn't seem to make much sense, I suppose, that the like thrown together trio sort of beat out the established group, even though Rebel is clearly the weakest link of the 6.
Yes,
it was
because
weird.
Maybe what they had in mind was obviously like Ruby and Chris Chris just finished feuding with Britt, so she's still got a stake in that. Ruby is going to be currently feuding with Britt, and then I guess they were going for the Riho hater angle there after the battle royale, but they didn't actually mention it at all, really. It would have, I guess, because Riho doesn't really do promos, so it's not like she could call out Jamie Hayter for screwing her or anything like that. And Hayter didn't say anything either, so it did feel very thrown in.
Yeah, it just kind of like, it's one of those things where like, it's only really visible on the internet, or if you're like an eagle-eyed viewer at home, that the Riho Battle Royale thing even happened. So it doesn't, I mean, you need some sort of establishing reason why Riho was there. If you're not going to explain it, then how is the audience who doesn't, frequent Twitter like we do, how are they meant to know? I don't know. It was good. It was fine. I mean, I think Ruby was the strongest, and Chris and Riho had a cool spot. But yeah, it did what it was meant to do, and I'm just excited for Ruby to be able to get a really good match in, because she's kind of had 2 pretty good matches where she has been strong in them, but she hasn't had the chance yet to, deliver a proper banger, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Well, that's Rampage.
yeah, now on to someone who wasn't on either show. Or did he have a promo on Dynamite against
Talking
Ricky
about
Starks?
Bryan. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, we're getting into that now.
Uh,
I mean, we don't have to, but it is
no,
discourse that
we should mention
happened.
it. We should mention it before we talk
So,
WWE. Yeah.
Melissa Santos, Brian Cage's wife/girlfriend.
Wife.
I'm wife. I'm a bad journalist. I'm not one. Melissa Santos, Brian Cage's wife, posted on Instagram or Twitter, basically something saying, "Cool, thanks for fact checking me at every turn. I really need it."
You're welcome.
Basically, she said that she didn't really feel like Brian Cage was being utilized to his full potential. Brian Cage liked that tweet, and then it spun off into Twitter discourse about whether Brian Cage is being used properly or not. And it's one of the things where you're going to get people in AEW now that they're bringing in like the heavy hitter big names, that some people who they signed really early on, which they sort of had at a more top card position, are going to start losing their spot a little bit. But I don't feel like Brian Cage was never given an opportunity to establish his spot. I think he was given 3 really key feuds with Moxley, with Darby, with Hangman to really prove himself as a top guy, and I think he did well. I just don't think he did enough to put himself on that upper level. What are you guys' opinions on Brian Cage and whether he's utilized or not?
I definitely think he's utilized properly, like you said. Like, they've thrown him into 3 big feuds with their top 3 of their top baby faces, and he opened Double or Nothing against like one of their top baby faces, which was Hangman, and he even got a pin on Hangman prior to that episode, even though it was like the whole like he came out and smashed Hangman's little noggin with the FTW belt, but like he still got a pin on Hangman, which is big because I don't think Hangman has that many like losses on his record, like, and especially not in the last year and 2 years, I guess. And yeah, and he was like a big part of, he was the original member along with Taz of Team Taz at the time. The FTW championship was like the whole thing, even though it's, I guess, not officially recognized. And I think when Ricky came into Team Taz, I think he just got outshined by Ricky, because Ricky is, well, in my opinion, Ricky is the better wrestler and more charismatic. He's better on the mic too. So he just got outshined by Ricky. But it's really, if it was anyone else, well, not anyone else, but if it was like, if like Lance Archer was out here saying he'd be misused, I'd be more inclined to be like, yeah, they're not using him correctly. But it's Brian Cage. Like, he's been given probably more than he should have. So I didn't like that. It felt strange, especially because it was his wife being the mouthpiece of it. Like, yeah, it was weird. I didn't see a lot of people agreeing with him either about it.
Yeah, I like Brian Cage. I watched a lot of Lucha Underground. I've watched all of Lucha Underground, and I think he's one of the standout performers of that show. And I was really excited when he joined AEW. I think he has a lot in ring to give, and like me personally, I think it would be cool to see him in like a main event spot, but I understand why he's not right now. And like, it's not that he's not being used. He has a promo pretty much every week, and he's in a feud where he's the main babyface in that feud, which is more than a lot of people can say. Daisy, what do you think about this topic?
You know, I agree with you that Brian Cage is a really good wrestler. I think there are a few people of his ridiculous size, and it is ridiculous, that can move the way that he can sometimes. However, I'm not drawn to him very much. I mean, Judah, in his AW run, I haven't watched Lucha Underground myself, but yeah, his AW run, I don't think it's due to a lack of trying from him. I just don't know if it is the right environment for like someone like him to like properly, I mean, be what he wants to be. Like, it's not all about being the biggest dude around. Like, that is not what they center their, their belts around and their main event feuds around. It's not about, a really massive fucking guy doing massive guy things. So they're not always going to end up on top, and they're going to have to lose to smaller guys on occasion. And I am so fine with that, because I think that, WWE have been doing it for too many years, where the big guy most of the time comes out on top, or the big guy is the biggest threat, which has merit, but slightly smaller guys, especially if they're better in the ring, they're probably going to win a match, especially, when you're that big, it kind of inhibits your movement a bit. So yeah, I am happy with the way he's been booked. I think it's a little bit silly for him to act like, he hasn't been given anything. Like Tani said, I think Lance Archer is probably a better example of a guy who hasn't done that much in the company, as opposed to Bryan, who's had quite a lot of spots. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I saw a lot of people saying that it's his wife and she's being supportive and it's sweet, but it's like, what if like my husband was at work, like working in a lawyer's office. I don't have a husband, but my hypothetical husband, my fake one, he was working in a lawyer's office. I wouldn't then go, I don't know, to like the lawyer's conference if there was one, and like announce to everyone. Yeah, I wouldn't then go and announce to everyone, oh my god, why doesn't my husband get a promotion? This is bullshit.
If my husband was a lawyer, I wouldn't go to the lawyer's store and start.
Listen, I haven't been thinking hard about this, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I understand
like
what you're
factory.
saying.
Got to go to the law factory and get some law.
You don't go to the law factory. You don't do that. You don't go to the law conference and announce that your lawyer husband hasn't got enough money. Like, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. I think you can understand the gist of what I'm saying. Of like, Twitter probably isn't the best place to sort of announce that you're unhappy with your job. You should just kind of talk to your boss about it. And if your boss isn't receptive to it, maybe go somewhere else. That's fine. He has the ability to work wherever the fuck he wants. He's not on like a strict contract where he's only allowed to wrestle in AW. He can go wherever he wants to go, and he can win, titles in Texas underground big muscles wrestling if he wants. Like,
of course,
be the top guy there. That's cool. But he's not going to be the top guy in AW because there are guys that are, I would say, objectively. I mean, everything is subjective, but not everything. There are guys who are better than him. And they're always going to come out on top when it comes to booking because, they're more charismatic, or they're better in the ring, or they have a better combination of both than Bryan does. So, yeah, I think it's a bit dumb. And it's just kind of awkward for me now seeing him do things. Cause it's a bit like, I know that you're just hating your life right now as you cut this promo. You just want to leave so bad. Yeah. That's about it from me.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that can reinvent his character because he doesn't really have a character to reinvent. Like, if he is able to like make himself something, like make himself interesting, then I will be more on board for him getting a bigger push. But right now he's just not doing anything interesting. He's, hey, I'm big and muscular, let's have a fight, Ricky Starks, you're dodging me. And, like, that's not super enthralling, and he's like, it doesn't feel like he's playing a character that nobody else could play. I don't know. It's like, I think he's being used where his level is at right now, and if he shows anything more, then he should get more of a push. I feel like that's how AEW does things, and I feel like it's working for him as well as it's working for everyone else. Yeah, but
Totally agree.
Yeah.
we are not just an AEW podcast, even though, God, wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where we could be? But sadly, there is another promotion in the world still doing things. They just trademarked WWE Evil. That was funny. What did that mean?
Who's that for?
Oh God, could you imagine Evil in WWE? Oh God.
I don't even want to think about it.
Uh,
I mean, Evil, he'd be pretty cool in there, I think.
honestly, if Evil went to WWE, I might watch it more consistently because I just want to see it. I'd want to see what it looks like.
I think the coolest part about it, though, is that he would change his name from Evil to WWE Evil.
WWE.
And he'd get announced as WWE Evil. I think that's just amazing.
It's such good shit, pal. But no, we're not talking about that Evil. We're talking about how this was going to be a segue to Balor, but I lost it. The Demon Balor's back on SmackDown.
We're truly talking about WWE Evil.
Yeah, they're gonna
WWE being evil. Fucking.
They're pushing Finn
Well,
Balor
then.
into the Roman Reigns meat grinder. They're just like, we need more gas in the machine. Throw him the demon.
It's not just them, but that's it, isn't it? It's not just them throwing Finn Balor into the proverbial wood chipper. They're throwing Demon Finn Balor. Demon Finn Balor. Who's like one of the coolest things in WWE. Because he comes, you know when Demon Finn Balor comes out that like shit's about to get real. And they're gonna feed the demon to Roman Reigns. And in kayfabe, how does that even make sense? How would a demon defeat Roman Reigns? Like, what has Roman Reigns got on the demon?
Roman Reigns is just too powerful. He's the head of the table. So you should just know by now that everyone is beneath him, and you should acknowledge him, Tiny.
It's true. You are correct. I'm sorry, big dog. I will acknowledge you as the tribal chief and the head of the table more. And that's all these catchphrases rolled into one.
So how I understand the storyline, it's so Finn Balor came back from NXT to challenge Roman Reigns, and he got that match, and they got a contract written out, but Baron Corbin, back when he was a sad man, now Baron Corbin's a happy man, but back when he was a sad man, he came out and tried to steal Finn Balor's contract, and so they beat each other up, and that opened the door for John Cena to come out and steal the contract, and they had the match at SummerSlam, and then Finn Balor was like, hey, that's bullshit, let's have a match. And so
Wait,
they
are you being serious right now? Is that how this storyline happened?
Yes.
With Roman Reigns stealing Finn Balor's contract? Oh,
No,
Jesus, it's
John
worse than I
Cena.
thought.
John Cena stole the contract. He just came
But it
out
was
and wrote
Finn
it.
Balor's.
Yeah.
It was Finn Balor's.
Yes.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's even worse than I thought.
So then Finn Balor and Roman Reigns had a match on SmackDown where, Finn Balor had a good showing, but it's a Roman Reigns match, so the same exact thing that happens in every Roman Reigns match happened, and Finn Balor lost, and then after that match there's a heartbeat. And then this week the demon came out to confront him, and apparently the demon within Finn Balor is really mad about Finn Balor losing that one contract. Truly a demon of law. I was gonna make a lawyer demon joke, but God,
Fell apart before you.
God, it's 4 a.m. for me. They get to record this in the morning. I get to record this at 4 a.m. Is it not the morning?
For me, excuse no, it's 11 p.m.
I don't.
It's
oh
not as
God,
bad
what
as
is
4
going on?
a.m. It's not as bad as 4 a.m., but yes, it's still nighttime. We should really think about recording these earlier.
No. Yeah, but it feels like they're just throwing everything at Roman Reigns to be like, see, our big dog is so cool and so badass, and he's gonna be the number one on the PWI 500 this year for sure. It like it. There's no point in giving him this. It really feels like they're sacrificing a good character that they could use in perpetuity down the line for someone else, but they're like, no, give it to Reigns because we're pushing Reigns right now, and he needs to be the biggest dog in the yard. It's like I don't watch the product regularly, but just looking at this and having to hear people talk about Roman Reigns, and I got on a big. I posted something the other night about how Roman Reigns isn't number one in the world or whatever, isn't one of the best in the world, and it got mixed reviews. I feel like people agree with me. I feel like people don't agree with me. But, like, he's just good. Like, he's just good. I don't know how calling someone good can be an insult, but I call Roman Reigns, he's good at his job. He does his job really well. He's not one of the best in the world. He doesn't deserve to defeat Demon Finn Balor.
I totally agree. Like, Roman for me, and like, to be fair to him, I haven't watched WWE enough this or last year to have a proper gauge on how good he is, and like, I will admit that. However, I've never seen a truly amazing Roman Reigns match that has been amazing because Roman Reigns has been wrestling in it. I've never seen a truly amazing Roman Reigns promo. I've never seen anything that like is just top to be top tier because of Roman Reigns, you know, that he's been involved in. I think he's, like you said, I think he's good. He does his job. He's there. He's big and beefy and he's handsome and that's great for the audience. However, what the hell is the plan? You know, he's not just gonna. I fucking hope he's not gonna be champion forever. Like, who is gonna come in and beat Roman Reigns? I can't see that they want to push anyone else as much as they push Roman at this stage. When he's just literally, you know, he's beating everyone on the roster. He's beating Cena. He's gonna beat Demon Balor. Like, who's gonna be left after that? Is the fucking Undertaker gonna come back out for one more go? Like, it's just kind of annoying because it almost feels like a Demon Balor defeat. Not that I want it. I would much prefer they use that for the next person they're trying to build. Like, what a great push for the next person who's gonna beat Roman. It's like, oh my god, they beat Demon Balor. That's amazing. They're clearly pushing the next person in line, but it's like all they care about is Roman. He's been champion for like 2 whole years, and it just, I don't know. I don't want it to be Nick Aldis 10,000 day reign because they literally don't think about anyone else except for Roman, and they haven't been bothered to properly build anyone as much as they built Roman. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It just this, and again, this is me every episode, me with my little tinfoil hat on. It just again feels like another fuck you to NXT because Finn was, I think, recently, at least in last year, he was NXT champ again.
Yep.
And when NXT, I guess they pushed NXT to be bigger to compete with AEW and all that, he went back to NXT and he was one of the faces of NXT, and obviously his original NXT run was really good, and it's just like it feels like another fuck you, another burial to NXT by like, look, we're gonna take one of your top stars, gonna make him do his really cool, really strong and protected gimmick that he pulls out on the rare occasion, and we're gonna crush it under the face of the main WWE, which is Roman. And I don't like it because that's what it feels like. And poor NXT, poor Finn Balor, man. Finn Balor deserves better than that.
Fair. I think, honestly, I don't even know if Vince views Finn as an NXT guy, which I think is, I don't know, maybe that comes across wrong, but I think Finn had he had some really good matches on the main roster. He wasn't there for long-ish. I mean, he was there for a bit, but He has had his time on the main roster, so when I think of people they want to spite, Finn Balor doesn't come to mind because despite the fact that he's one of the longest reigning NXT champions in history and he's had multiple NXT championship reigns, he's had his time on the main roster, and it almost feels like, to me, it feels more like they're pulling shit out of a hat because they've run out of things to do. Then in this case, I don't feel like it's a fuck you. I think that, if they wanted to do that, they'd literally bring fucking anyone else who has basically exclusively worked NXT at this point. And yeah, he's back on SmackDown now, so I don't think they want to bury Finn. I don't think they want to. I just think it's a thing that they've decided to do because they literally can't think of anything else. That's just my opinion, though.
Fair.
Yeah. And then on to our...
Good segue, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about
Speaking
NXT a little bit.
Speaking of burial of NXT...
Yeah, so this was a late addition to the podcast because it just happened today. Samoa Joe just relinquished his NXT championship due to unnamed injury. The medical staff said he wasn't clear. Now, I know Tana usually wears the tinfoil hat, but I'm going to reach through the computer screen and take her tinfoil hat, put it on myself. I called this a long time ago. I never thought that Samoa Joe would take the title into this new era of NXT because it just, he doesn't tick, and he ticks all the boxes of what they don't want in that new era of NXT. He's an older guy. He doesn't fit the mold. And it just, it really felt like he existed to take the belt off of Karrion Kross, and then he was gonna get rid of it and be the enforcer again for William Regal. I don't want to say that I think the injury is a work, because I think if he is injured, that's very unfortunate, and him having to give up the belt probably doesn't feel good for him. But he didn't get injured in the ring, and unless he got injured training, which is very possible, I don't know why the staff wouldn't be clearing him to compete. That's a little fishy to me.
Sorry to interject here. I believe that the reason given was it was the same injury that he was taken off for a year. He was off for a very long time. I think the story that was given is it was the same injury, and I don't know, maybe it just played up again. But I don't know if that's true.
I'm inclined to believe Samoa Joe that he's actually not cleared to compete, and he actually has to relinquish this title. And maybe the fact that I already assumed that was going to happen is sort of leading me to confirmation bias, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it came out later that this was a work. What are your guys' thoughts on Samoa Joe relinquishing the NXT title before NXT Junior debuts this week?
I wouldn't be surprised by your theory. I think it's very possible. On the other hand, I almost feel like they could have just had him lose. It almost feels like they're shooting themselves in the foot by, possibly faking an injury. And it seemed like, I don't know, the way they worded it is like the medical team has pulled him from wrestling, as if he won't be wrestling for a long time or he has to retire. It had that sort of wording, which I hope it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I have no clue who's next in line. I don't know. The way that they're doing things over there right now, it just could be literally anybody. So I've got no clue. Obviously, it won't go back to Cross. Who knows? I don't know. It's sad for Joe, but this new era of NXT is so unpredictable that I've got zero clue.
It's either gonna be the absolute worst and funniest version of NXT yet, or it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. I don't, and this is gonna sound cynical, but I'm me, so I need to have my cynical takes. I don't think there's any way that NXT is gonna be great ever again, and it's sad. But I think the era of NXT being really, really good is gone, and it's either gonna be good because it's really bad, or it's just gonna be like, good, fine.
The only thing that has been running through my head for the past couple of minutes was when you said I'm gonna reach through the screen and take the tinfoil hat. And the only thing I can think of is Sisterhood of the Traveling Tinfoil Hat.
What?
And that is just... Wait, oh my god, no.
You ever read the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Jacob?
I've seen the book. Like, I know it's also a movie.
It's about a pair of jeans, and these group of friends get this pair of jeans, and it can fit every single one of them, even though they all are like different.
What?
Sisterhood of the Traveling Tinfoil Hat. How dare you let my joke flop because you don't know pop culture?
I know what the book
How
is,
dare
and I know
you.
that it's a movie. I just didn't know how it applied here. Like, I didn't want to make your joke fall
tinfoil
flat.
hat fits everyone.
The tinfoil hat fits everyone.
That's
I
all.
see.
You got to
I
post
get
it
it.
in
I'm
the mail.
uncultured.
No.
Yeah, true. How dare you not know the interests of teenage girls?
So Tony,
from
do you
10
have
years ago.
do you have any opinion on Samoa Joe or the new era of NXT we're about to enter, and not about pants?
How dare you? I'm just gonna reach the screen to take my tinfoil hat back that fits everybody, and I just feel like it does again feel like a jab at NXT, like another nail in the coffin for NXT. And at this point, there's so many nails in that coffin, it's more nail than coffin. Like, they're dead. It's dead. They've put enough nails in there. It's nailed shut.
Dear
It's
God,
dead.
stop nailing the coffin, please.
Stop! He's already dead. Like, for real though, I have no idea where the title's gonna go. I don't know if Samoa Joe is gonna stay on NXT, and if he does, he'll just probably end up being commentator again. And it's all just very sad. I feel like it's just another little sad note in this whole book of sadness that is the death of NXT. And if he's injured, then like, speedy recovery to him. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a way for them to get the belt off him quickly and pushing it onto somebody else.
I can't stop imagining Vince McMahon with a hammer and the NXT coffin, and he's just putting another nail in, and Triple H is just like, no, please, not another nail. And Vince McMahon is like, no, we need more nails, pal.
It's like that meme that was like when Vince was having negotiations with Adam Cole, and it's like, for every second you don't sign this contract, and we'll release another person from NXT.
Yeah.
It's just sad. So NXT's dead. And so what do we have left? Raw? SmackDown?
Apparently, according to people, SmackDown is really good. I don't believe them, but
Liars.
They think it's really good.
But is it good, like, on a... When they say it's good, do we mean like we can compare it to a good episode of Dynamite? Or is it good for WWE? Because that's basically a bad episode of Dynamite.
From what it sounds like, SmackDown this week was pretty decent. Like, it had, like, genuine storyline progression. You have the return of the Demon, which is exciting, even if it means he's gonna get eaten by a very big dog. It sounds like it was a good episode of wrestling television in isolation, but they don't do it on a consistent basis. It sounds like most weeks are like that one episode of AEW that everyone got really pissed about. It sounds like that's SmackDown every week, but since it's WWE, they're like, oh, this is so good. And yeah.
When your expectations are through the floor, when it exceeds expectations, it's going to be good, but that doesn't mean that it's objectively good in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
And speaking of not being objectively good in the grand scheme of things, I think we've just finished an episode.
Oh my god! Why would you bury us like this?
Yeah.
Because I'm an
Jacob
agent
is
of
on
chaos.
Facebook.
I'm gonna inject a lethal dose of poison.
Are you now Vince McMahon? You're taking the hammer from Vince McMahon, except the coffin is now us.
I'm
How
killing
dare
this
you.
podcast before it can
Lying.
even start.
You are not allowed to use the traveling jeans anymore.
Oh, I'm
You're
banned from the
jeans.
sisterhood. Damn it.
You're
Yeah,
out of the
Jacob's
sisterhood.
banned. It's now the Double Friends podcast.
Fuck.
So mean.
It's just me
I
and
got my
Daisy, and we spend the whole podcast talking about you
I
and
got
how you
myself.
buried us.
I got myself canceled live on air.
Cancelled, I tell you. Cancelled.
But yeah, we're gonna end things off here, I think, unless you either of you want to talk about something.
Nah, go ahead and plug yourself.
Oh well,
Plug
thank
away.
you.
That came off like way more aggressive than I intended it.
Why don't
Yeah,
you go
plug
plug
yourself,
yourself?
Go plug
Fucking
yourself.
plug
Well,
yourself,
maybe
Jacob.
I will. I've been Jacob. You can follow me on Twitter at SaltyAcob. That's Salty AYYYCOB. And now you guys can go plug yourselves.
Thank you. I'm Daisy. My Twitter @ is boutmachines, BOUTMACHINES, and you can find me there basically every day, or here. I'll also include the links in the description.
And I've been Tani, Twitter user at Hangman Pages, missing him sorely.
Sing him sorely. And I'll also say I'll plug our Twitter @ as one. The collective Twitter @ is @TripleFriendPod, with no S at the end because of Twitter character limits. You can find us there. Yeah,
This has been a podcast. We're out.
it's been one.